Wow! What's happening, everybody? It's your boy. Yes, sir. We are back. Let's talk with Stanley Doucette is riding hard now. Guess what, everybody? I got one of my BFFs on the line. I got one of my girls. We've been knowing each other for over 30 years. But when y'all look at us, y'all know, y'all looking at me on
Only
YouTube,
in my
y'all know.
20s.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? How is everybody? Or how's your mom and them? How your cousin and them? How the Nim family? How's everybody doing? Listen, we have a powerful show for you today. I could not wait to actually do this show. I've been trying to do it for a minute, but the timing wasn't right. But it's the timing is right now. So let's talk with Stanley Doucette is now live. Go to all of the podcast, excuse me, not podcast, social medias. Go to all of the wherever's did you get your podcast? Download it, play it, like us, forward it to people, share it, all of those things. Please do that for the show. We love you guys. We love you. But I also want to say, go to our website, let's talk with StanleyDoucette.com. All of the previous seasons are there. As you guys know, we're in season 3. So that's Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, L-E-T-S. Let's, not L-E-S-S. Somebody sent me something. I was like, what? No, let's, L-E-T-S, T-A-L-K, W-I-T-H, S-T-A-N-L-E-Y, DOUCETTE.com. Go there. You can catch all of the previous seasons, all of this season, everything. I want to get that out the way because this podcast, I think, is going to help some people, is going to change some lives, and is going to save some lives. I had to go and get one of my BFFs, one of my girls. She was on before. She's been a family member of Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette before. But I want to say this. She is one of the most powerful therapists, social workers, doctors, friends, ride or dies, whatever you want to call it, that I've been knowing for a tremendous long time. So this is not just somebody I met on social media somewhere to come be a host. This is somebody that I absolutely know. We are friends for real. We can fight, argue, but y'all better not get in the middle of us because then there's going to be a problem with y'all. That's how we ride. Now, she's from New Orleans. I ain't going to tell y'all where she lives, but that's a whole nother story. She got all of her BSS, BAAs, LMNOPs, and she's about to become a doctor. That's right. She's about to become a doctor. She's the real deal. She's have over, I think it's 20 plus years of experience in this. She does a lot of stuff in trauma. She does a lot of stuff with just families. She just want to make everybody feel comfortable and be the best version of themselves. So y'all do me a favor and welcome back to the show. Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. My girl, Dr. Candice Saraparu. Dr. Saraparu, what's happening?
Oh, thank you, Stanley. What's going on? I love that you keep giving me my doctorate before I earned it, but we got a little bit of time left. So I always do the correction because when I get it, I'm going to say, please say the doctor. I'm not going to let you skip on it once I get it. But right now, just go with Candice. I'm just very regular, first name only.
See, now you talk about you very regular. I know you. Ain't nothing about you regular. Don't
just
do
right
that.
now. I'm telling you though, once I get it, it is going to be, what's your, no, miss doctor. Just keep.
See that I'm gonna call you doctor. I don't care what you say. I'm gonna call you doctor anyway. So yeah. whatever. Did you finish?
Huh? Yeah,
Did
go ahead.
Finish yet? Are you finished yet?
No.
You're not finished yet. Right?
They got this thing they want you to write. That's called a dissertation. They don't let you finish without it.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you had finished already. It don't matter. I'm co-signing for you, Dr. Saraparu. How are you today, babe?
If they let you be on a dissertation committee, and
I got you. I got you.
Vote.
Yeah, I got
let
you.
Vote for me. Go ahead.
You know, I got you. So what's going on? How you been?
I have been well. You know, it's the holiday season. It's just ending for most people, but it's New Orleans. We about to begin carnival season, so I got to gear up, get everything ready.
Mardi Gras time, baby.
Yes.
You know, look. Time. Everybody loves my intro and outro music, so I'm already second lining in my head as we go along. But listen, I want to get serious today because, like you said, we just finishing up the actual holiday season. And this is probably one of the worst holiday seasons I've had in terms of some of the traumas and things that have gone on with different people not just in New Orleans, but just actually around the world. So today we're going to be talking about family is suffering in silence, that mental health side, suffering in silence. There's a lot of people that's suffering in silence. I think it was a DJ, what's his name?
DJ Twitch.
Yeah, DJ Twitch, that one day he was having a TikTok video with his wife, and the next day he expired. I mean, so there's a lot of people suffering in silence, family. So I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. Candice, I don't want to be shallow on this one. I want to go there today. Like I want to go into those thoughts and what people talk about suffering and suicide. But before we go there, tell everybody, I mean, for those that don't know who you are, I mean, I know you was on Essence. I know you presented there. I know you presenting in the high level places. You know, I know you the woman, but everybody don't know you. So I want to give you an opportunity to at least share some of the things that you do and who you are and all of those things. And then we'll hop into the show.
Okay. So it's always hard when I hear the years I've been doing this, because then it doesn't match up with my age. It's hard to be in your 20s and then been doing this more than 20 years. But yeah, so I am a licensed clinical social worker and a board-approved clinical supervisor. So I provide supervision for social workers who are trying to become licensed social workers. I've been doing this for more than 20 years. In addition to that, I am a professor of social work. So I teach on a university level. I am, and I have a private practice. I have contracts with different agencies to provide therapeutic services. I do presentation and education. Anywhere anybody would ever have me, I want to talk about it. I run my podcast. So I have a popular podcast called Therapy Get You Some.
Get you some, baby. Get you some.
Well, yeah, and the whole point of that is that, you know, we all need therapy, and I think that's one of the things that we can all benefit from it. So there's levels to this. There's a, you know, nobody will be harmed by therapy. And then there are people who they will not be able to probably do well in life and exceed, you know, reach the levels they should achieve without getting therapy. But I think we should all get some therapy and, you know, and find some healing in whichever way. So I just want to normalize that, especially as Black people, that we don't have to suffer in silence, which is the topic of today, that there are people who are trained who you can go and see, and they can help you get to where you want to be. And so,
well, Candice, let me hop in there. Something just popped into my head. There's somebody close to a friend of mine, all that stuff, but something popped into my head, right? Let me just say it this way. What happens when you don't trust? I mean, we suffer in silence, but what happens when you don't trust? I don't trust a therapist. I don't trust a counselor, right? I'm going through a marital situation, or I'm going through a divorce, or I'm going through something with my parents. I don't trust. I'm not going to tell you my deepest, darkest secrets because I don't trust.
and so that is the one of the most important things. And I always kind of really push this, is making sure you have a well-trained therapist. And that does take, you know, beyond just educate, like the basic education. You should ask your therapist a lot of questions. Don't just, you know, form a relationship. It's almost like a dating relationship when you're getting with a therapist. You got to do some interviewing. You don't walk into therapy and just completely strip naked. And I'm using that in a metaphorical sense. So you give them a piece of information that is lightweight, that is, you know, and you can test the relationship. And that is normal for therapy. And a therapist who is trained understands that you will test the relationship, and you're going to give me a little bit of information. And then as you trust me, you'll give me more. So you don't have to trust me, because that's my job, to get you to gain your trust, to teach you, to build that relationship where you feel like you can trust me. That's all I'm supposed to do as a therapist. Like, that's the first 1, 2, 3 sessions, or however long it takes, is me getting you to gain that trust. Most
true.
people have trust issues.
Yeah, I got trust issues. I know some of my friends that are real close to me, we have trust issues.
And I think that, you know, because I just recently saw something on social media that broke my heart. And it was an influencer talking about, she had developed a therapeutic relationship with someone, and that therapist posted on social media, I am so excited that I'm going to be working with this person. And so you're right. And that broke my heart, because that is so against, and that is not what we do as therapists. And that's against our rules. And, You know, she didn't name the therapist, so I can't name them and call them out and say, hey, don't go see her because that's what she did, or him.
Ooh, ooh,
But I think that's one of the things that, you know, in this day and age that has people not trusting. Of course, nobody wants their business to be spread to everybody. And
that's true.
so, you know, telling your therapist, listen, I have trust issues and I'm a public persona, so I want to make sure that my information is confidential. Tell me your policies about confidentiality. Tell me
Right.
and again, a well-trained therapist is going to tell you that up front. That's part of my consent. That's part of the day one before we get started. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about. Let me tell you when I'm going to break confidentiality, you know, and then when it's time, I'm going to say, remember on the first day we met, I told you, if you told me this, I would have to break confidentiality. Well, that's time
Mhm.
has come. I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. You're welcome to be present while I do it, you know, or whatever have
Right.
you. But that's part of the relationship. And so the main thing is getting you a competent therapist. And once you do
That's
that,
true.
everything else falls in line.
Because I'm gonna tell you something else that people have said. I've heard this from a lot of people. It's and some friends I know they've tried even, let's say, like marriage counseling, right? And the first thing come out their mouth, the first 3 sessions is like they keep pushing you along. It's like, okay, when we gonna get some results? Because you just keep wanting my money. Stop all that. Can we get to some results, please?
So I think so. One of the things again, it's a good therapist is going to be very clear because people go to marriage counseling to save their marriage,
That's right.
not save your marriage. I wish I could. I wish I had that magic wand that I could save your marriage. So what I can promise you is that I can help you come to decisions about your marriage. The only people that can save it is you and your spouse, because that's the two people who are in it. I can help increase your communication. I can help you to get past some of the hurdles. If there was infidelity, I can help you to heal those things. Can I help you save your marriage? No, because
Ooh, girl, you said
not
some
every
powerful.
marriage wants to be saved anyway.
Amen. Praise the Lord, saints. Praise the Lord.
Can I help you to come to that decision and amicably split? Hopefully
Right.
that happens. So the goal of marriage counseling is not saving marriage. The goals of marriage counseling is building skills that even if this marriage does not survive,
Hmm.
that you can use those skills in future relationships, and that this relationship doesn't have to complete, you know, like everybody thinks when you go through divorce, it has to be ugly. It doesn't. That's what marriage counseling can help. I can help you have if that, you know, it might sound like an oxymoron, a nice divorce.
Girl, stop. Ain't no nice divorces
I
out
can
here.
help you have a nice divorce. We can do some rules of engagement, you know,
Rules of engagement.
but
Ooh.
I can't guarantee I'm gonna save your marriage because y'all both know what y'all did. Even if I don't know, y'all both know what y'all did. So we're not gonna pretend that that didn't
We,
happen.
I don't want to go into that direction because then that's going to take us
That's gonna
way
go somewhere else.
somewhere else.
But yeah,
But it does lead into suffering in silence, right? Whether it's a male or whether it's a female suffering in silence. So first of all, what is mental health and suffering in silence? What does that look like for you as
so
a,
mental
mhm,
health it's on a spectrum. So there's mentally healthy. That's a person who's well adjusted. That's a person who has adequate coping skills to deal with life. That's a person who has great communication. That's where we all want to be. We all want to be mentally healthy. And then there is mental illness, right?
mhm,
And that's what we, you know, and then the severe mental illness. And you can be anywhere in that spectrum from mentally healthy to severely mentally ill. The healthier you are when you enter treatment, the faster you're going to see those results. So if you are, you know, let's just put it on a scale, mentally healthy is a 10, and then mentally ill, severely mentally ill is a 1. If
mhm.
you come to me and you're a 7 or an 8, I can get you back to a 10 much quicker. If you're a
Right.
1, you will likely not be a 10 ever again, right? It's just
Hmm.
really statistically impossible to say severely mentally ill to be completely mentally well. But I probably could get you at a functioning space of a 5 or a 6, right? So there's some places we can move the needle, but it's not going to probably go all the way to 10. So that's what
That
mental health is.
that's good. But what about those that suffering in silence? And when you was just talking about like marriage, it just popped into my head. But I'm suffering in silence. I mean, for real. I don't want to be with this guy, or I don't want to be with this lady. I'm suffering, but I may not want to leave right now because of, I don't know, my son or my daughter or the kids or, you know, money,
So
or whatever it may be.
specific to marriage, most people suffer in silence in the beginning. And that's because marriage is so personal. And the moment I start to open up and tell anybody about it, then I probably have to take some type of action, which is what you're saying. I don't want to take action, right? And because of my inability to take action, then I can't speak, because if I speak it, not only are you going to hear it, but I'm going to hear it, right?
That's right.
And there's nothing worse than hearing yourself sound stupid, right? You
There's
hear
nothing worse.
yourself and you hear what you're saying. You're saying, I want something better than I have. I deserve something better than I have, but I don't want to do anything about it.
I'm gonna just stay here.
Right. So the moment you say that, then your spirit becomes unrested and you can't. So then you have to do something. So that's why most people, for that, in relationships, that's why a lot of people suffer in silence, is because if I tell my mom or my daddy what's going on, I can no longer go home and be happy, because they're not gonna let me. They're gonna keep bothering me. So what he did now? What
Yeah.
they gonna keep.
Wait, why it gotta be a him? Why it can't be a
I
her?
said if I tell.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
All right.
bringing it. I was making it personal.
Okay.
But just overall, from when we are not mentally healthy, sometimes we don't recognize that we're not mentally healthy. Sometimes it takes other people outside of us, because we're just going along through our day and we don't recognize we're not mentally healthy until it becomes severe. Now, obviously, once it's severe, then it's harder to take action. So sometimes we're suffering because we don't recognize it as suffering. Sometimes we believe suffering is part of life, and we don't recognize happiness is a possibility. So we're suffering, but we just think that we have normalized suffering, right? Everybody around us.
Deep.
So why should I tell Stanley about my pain when I know Stanley in pain too? I'm not going to tell him nothing. So that might be protective. There's lots of reasons why we suffer in silence. And so, and everyone's unique. Some of us, I always joke and tell people I'm a soldier, right? One thing about a soldier, well, then I switched it. I'm not a soldier. I'm a warrior, right? Because soldiers were trained to fight and warriors were born to fight, right?
Okay.
So as a warrior, warriors cry on the inside. Like we're not.
That's right.
We got that, we got our battle gear on and we looking like everything right. And it takes a special person to see us and see the pain, because I'm not going to just see it.
Hold on one second. Wait. Whoo, this gets good. So when you start talking about seeing, right? Because I've always say that, you can see something on people, especially if you're close to somebody, you can see it, or you can, as I say in one of my favorite movies, I see you. I have a question about that in terms of suffering in silence. What happens when you think people don't see you? That's one side. And then the other side is when that person comes along and they whisper in your ear, or they tell you right in your eyes, I see you. And their actions duplicate that. Help me with that. There's
a lot of different areas for that, right?
Yes,
one, it's on purpose that I don't want you to see me. Right? That is a purposeful, intentional, and that's so seeing, like you said, unless you're close, seeing me for real, a lot of times it's a defense mechanism. So I have to put this mask on, and we all have, and we walk out into the world with it, and that's on purpose. So when you are seen, I might run and hide or get a different mask, because like, wait, I wasn't holding it together like I thought I was. Let me go fix this up. Not necessarily stop suffering, but let me stop showing the suffering. And then that brings me deeper. So sometimes being seen makes me run deeper into the hole or into the abyss. But then there are those people who see you and they won't let you hide, right? They see you, like you said that. And then they
see the nakedness. They see you. It's like,
that's so uncomfortable. It's like, I thought I was doing a good job, but you're telling me no.
I don't want you to see me.
Right. But then there's that relief, right? Once they see it, because and again, it's a special person who's going to push past that I'm fine to know you not, because I see you and I know you. And then you get the relief of, okay, well, since you see it and you know it, I could just say it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And everything is exposed.
Everything is exposed. And that happens often, like I said, when you're in therapy with a trained therapist, that the things you think people aren't paying attention to, they're paying attention to. right? And that you get to be seen and you get to have that safe space where you can, and I always say safe space and then I catch myself because
Yeah,
that's
it's a
language.
safe space.
No, I want the world to be safe for all of us. And so the
Hmm.
fact that, my discomfort makes you uncomfortable, that's your issue. That's not, we need to stop wearing the mask, so I want to
Right.
encourage us all to say, because it's freeing for us all, right? So it's freeing for, even for me as a therapist, for my clients to know I'm a human and that, I cry or I have issues. Sometimes they're like, wait, you have issues? How you a therapist and you got issues? Because I'm a human,
Right.
right? And so to
Right.
humanize people, it's sometimes freeing to say, listen, I'm having a bad day today. It's just, I can't,
It's-
I can't,
right. I can't today.
I
It's
can't.
interesting you talk about that safe space. I know some of y'all couldn't hear our pre-conversation before we got on the air, but let me just say this. You're right about that safe space. A friend of mine, we would always talk about being that safe space for each other, right? Just being that safe space because, people don't see you, but once you see that person, you always want to elevate them to the highest level that they possibly can be. But I want to ask this question because I think suffering in silence past the holidays, and I think a lot more people are putting up some tremendous masks
Mhm.
and have now, unfortunately, they have expired, right? And I have been getting bombarded, unfortunately, with multiple deaths over the last few weeks, right?
Mhm.
I'm talking about people that initially, like we talked about the DJ, initially you look, they happy, but then the next day they have killed themselves. I have a college, not college, I'm sorry, a high school classmate that just recently, unfortunately, has expired. And
Mhm.
you look at the pictures and all that stuff is a while of health and excitement, and then next thing you know, I get this horrific news. So how can we identify with somebody that may be suffering in silence?
And so if you're seeing somebody, if they're, let me try to make sure I'm saying this. You're saying, I had no idea. And that can very well be the case. And so, there are times when nobody has any idea. And sometimes suicide can be impulsive, right? And a person can kill, like they could be happy and then get some life-changing news
Mm-hmm.
and then attempt suicide. And I'll give you an example. I used to work, this was a long time ago. Again, I'm going to date myself, but 2000s, early 2000s, well before, when
I thought
we
you were gonna say it for the
no,
9-9.
no, but this was early 2000s when we didn't have a lot of information about HIV and AIDS
Okay.
that we have now, and we didn't have the medication that we have now. And I used to work with that population.
Okay.
And somebody might come in and they were happy and they got a diagnosis, they came in with a cough and this pesky cough, and then they would see me coming and they're like, okay, well, what you come in here for? Because I'm here for a cold. And
Mm-hmm. Right.
anybody who's ever been in a hospital, when you get escorted to that secret, we used to call it the pink room because it was pink for I don't know what reason. But when you get escorted to the pink room, okay, they're about to tell me something because why I'm
You
not in
don't
the
want
right,
to hear. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right? And why you bringing in a social worker with you, So, and when we would give that news of, you got diagnosed with HIV, for some people, they thought of it as a death sentence. But again, this was over 20 years ago. And
Right.
in many ways, we didn't have the treatments that we have now. We would have people who would say, I'm just gonna kill myself. I'm not gonna suffer with
Yeah.
it. And so those, when I bring that up, that's an impulsive suicide, becoming suicidal. You were not suicidal until you got this devastating news that was more traumatic and it was beyond your ability to cope, that you then contemplated suicide. Then there are people who have contemplated for a long time, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
functionally depressed. They're depressed, but they're able to function. Everybody can see that they're functioning well. So sometimes it's like there's not much you can do as a person who's saying, I don't see any signs,
Right.
besides actually checking in with people and not letting them just say, I'm good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. If I know you and I know what you're going through, and I don't like to speak on cases that I don't know about. So I have no idea what was going on with DJ Twitch. So I don't know what his
Right.
situation. But there
That's
are
right.
lots of times when there's a person that I know and I know what they're going through. And I say, how you doing? And they say, I'm good. I'm holding it together. There's no way you good. There's
Right.
no way you can be good with the traumatic news you just received. So I shouldn't let you off the hook, right? Now, if we're in
Mhm.
Walmart and I just stop you, Stan, how you doing? And you say, I'm good. All right, bro, I'm gonna check on you. Then I need to call you and say, look, I know we was at Walmart, I caught you, but now
Right.
that we're private, how are you for real? And
Yeah.
generally people will give you that answer because I've had people do that to me. They say,
Mhm.
we're in public, how you doing? And then they call me later, okay, now how are you for real?
Right. Yeah.
And when they
Yeah.
do that, guess what? They find out how I am for real.
Yeah.
They find out how I
Yeah.
am for real because now I know you saw. Like
You
you
see
saw
me.
you saw through me, you saw me. And so I feel safe to tell you how I am for real.
Mhm.
But for
Yeah.
those people who just accept the I'm good, they say, oh, I love this one. You better than me, because if I was going through what you was going through,
Yeah.
I'm
Because
not
they make it about themselves.
right. How can I be better? You saying if you was going through what I was going through, you would not be making it.
Mhm.
And now I'm better than you. What if I'm just like you and I just didn't, you know what I mean? Like, why would you say that? And I think those are the people that I don't trust with my information
Yeah.
because you made it about, like you said, you made it about yourself. Now all of a sudden you telling me your business.
Yep. And you like, so I'm just gonna stand here but let me say that in that though, when people do that, because it's a couple things running in my head, but when people do that, it's almost like you turn off because
Mhm.
now it's like you really don't give a damn about me. You just
Right.
want to be like, hey, but let me tell you, I'm going through this, so I want to be the center of attention, right?
Mhm.
So that does that now push back more suffering and silence because I
It
really
does.
wanted to tell you, but because you turned me off,
Right.
now I go back into a further part of, I'll say, suffering in silence or depression or whatever it may be.
Well, right. You, like you said, that was the test. When I said I'm good, that was the test to see if you were going to accept that. And not only did you accept it, but then you started giving me your issues. So now I can't tell you my issues.
That's right.
Right. And that happens often, especially if you have a healing spirit. If you have a healing spirit, people are always going to come to you for seeking healing.
That's right.
And they're going to neglect to think that you may need it yourself.
Yes. We talk about those strong people, right? You got those strong people. And it seems like for me, there's a lot of people that's strong that come to me.
Mhm,
And they will try to be like, oh, and you read right through that. And
mhm.
then next thing you know, you sitting there and they start crying. They just start breaking down. It don't matter, male or female. They just and it's like you said earlier, it's that relief, like, let
Right.
me
I've
get
been
this off
needing
my
to get this off my chest. I needed to tell somebody.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
I've been feeling like this for 10 years in my 15 years in my marriage, or I've been feeling like this with my child, or this at my work, and I'm feeling this way, but I didn't have anybody that I can trust and get this off my chest. Let me tell you something. I recently, a few years ago, I think we just recently talked about it when you're saying about getting some devastating news, right? So when you get that phone call, I was blessed and fortunate enough to go through the prostate cancer stuff, right? So for me, when I got that call and the doctor was like, it's confirmed, man, listen, suicide, deaths, everything you could imagine run through your head because initially you're thinking cancer, death. You wasn't thinking about, oh, this, you caught this way early. This is going to be fine. You're going to be healthy, live a healthy life. You didn't think about that. All you thought about was, Lord, I'm a ride away. And it just, all that stuff goes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm agreeing with you. I'm seeing you and saying I understand.
Yeah, so you go through that, and I'll never forget. I was, came and got that news, and I was devastated. I mean, devastated. I went to the basement, and I didn't want to come out the basement, right? I mean, just you ain't got to turn the TV on, nothing, just sit in darkness, right? And I talked to two people, if three people, but inside of that day was two people that really lifted me, that saw me. You
Mhm,
know what I mean? That they actually saw me and
mhm.
allowed me to get that off my chest. Now I cried, I buckled, and I was on the floor and snot and the real cry, right?
Right.
But it had somebody speaking into me. There had two people speaking into me that I was going to be fine. But let me tell you something. Every part of what you said is true because I lived it.
Mhm.
I lived it, right? But if those two people weren't there, who knows what would have been the outcome?
Right. Right. But and that's where, God provides and made sure you had those people in your life. Uh,
Absolutely.
because that is probably the hardest thing, and that we don't realize how your day can shift from one phone call.
Whole life shifted.
Your whole, and it doesn't, and the thing about it is it doesn't ever go back. The old, it will never go back. You will never be able to answer the phone call and your doctor on the other end and you just like, oh, what's up? You're always gonna be holding your breath,
Waiting for the shoe to drop.
waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah.
That's
And
that's
so
right.
that's the main reasons we suffer in silence, though, is because we don't know, we don't have that control over what you're going to do with that information, right?
Mhm.
Or you can dismiss me because I can't take me, like, I'm already suffering. If you dismiss me, that might be the
Ooh.
thing that knocks me over the edge.
Wait,
Or you
wait. Let me
can
ask you this.
ridicule
Well, I got to ask you this, right?
me.
I need to get back to your ridicule, but I want to ask this before I forget. When you said that, I also thought about people that are taking medication, and some of the side effects are actually depression and sadness and having suicidal tendencies and all that. But go ahead. You was talking about ridicule
Yeah,
and
no, I was just saying, when I finally do open up, I have to almost know how you're gonna respond. And so you said those two people poured into you, but you knew those two people well enough to know I share with them, they're gonna pour into me, right?
that's
We
right.
have this exchange. Some of our friends, we don't know how it's gonna go. They're our friends, we cool, but I don't know how you take the weight of what I'm about to tell you. Are you gonna just try to make a joke? Because I don't have no
Right.
time for a joke right now, right? Or
Mhm.
you're gonna make fun of me. Oh, look at you being soft. Not right now. That's not going. That's so
Yeah. So
I'm gonna just
right.
hold it in because I may be able to figure out how to raise my head out of this water on my own, but I can't do it if you put your foot on my neck. And that's what
Right.
sometimes might happen, not on purpose, but that just happens. So when you talk about that, they're medications, but they're also medical conditions
Mhm.
that can cause. And I have to say this because I think as Black people, we don't know enough about the fact that vitamin D regulates our emotions, right? Vitamin D is evidence that is linked to depression and anxiety, right?
Mhm.
How do
Mhm.
we get vitamin D? We get vitamin D from our skin absorbing the sun and turning it into vitamin D, right? Foods, they fortify milk and some orange juice with vitamin D. As Black people, a lot of us are lactose intolerant, so we don't drink a lot of milk products. So that
Right.
scratches that. How much orange juice do you drink, really? Come on, we're gonna just be honest, not a lot. So we're gonna scratch that. So we're not getting vitamin D from foods. If you're like me, I'm not in the sun. I mean, you could see that if you're looking at the YouTube, right? So then what that means is you're probably going to be vitamin D deficient.
Mhm.
And almost all my clients that I say, go get your vitamin D tested, come back vitamin D deficient. I had one
Right.
client had to go get infusions, IV infusions. That's how low her vitamin D was.
Oh, wow.
Right. If you go to the store and buy an over-the-counter vitamin D pill, and I'm not a medical doctor, so I want you to take this information to your medical doctor. But
Mhm.
vitamin D over the counter is 400 IUs.
Mhm.
Most of my clients are getting prescribed 10,000 and up IUs
Oh,
because
wow.
that's how deficient they are, right? Over the counter would do nothing for them. That's how
Mhm.
deficient they are. So, and anytime I tell somebody, go get it tested, especially if you're experiencing symptoms of depression, usually they come back, Miss Candice, my vitamin D was 10. I'm like, right.
Right.
See what happens when you get adequate amounts of vitamin D. Let's just see how that affects your mood. Let's see what happens with that.
Right.
So there are medications that can cause depression, but there's also medical conditions. Thyroid is another one that can cause you to have your emotions out of whack. And then for women, menopause is another big one that people don't like to talk about, but it definitely will have you not feeling yourself and feeling like you have no control over your emotions. And so always check the medical stuff first, because
Mhm.
I like, as a therapist, I always tell my clients, that's one of the things I do when I'm doing your intake is check on your health, your medical. medical health.
Right. Yes.
Because their health is all one. Mental health, medical health, they're all intertwined. You cannot be mentally healthy if you're medically sick and vice versa. But to me, that's the easy fix. You know how easy it is for us to change your medicine?
Yeah.
To me, that makes my job. Like if you say, wait, you vitamin D deficient? Well, let's see what happens when you get your vitamin D straight.
That's right.
That makes my job easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a medication causing you to feel suicidal, let's get rid of this medication, right?
Right.
Let's see. You have just made my job so much easier. And
Mm-hmm.
it makes therapy, like now we can get to this higher level of therapy, right? First, we're going to get you just to not be suicidal, right? That's not being suicidal ain't happy, but at least you're not suicidal. But if medication, and you're off of the medication and now you're not suicidal, and I didn't have to do any of that work. We didn't have to do any of that. Now we can actually get you to happiness, which is another level.
Mm-hmm.
That's beyond what your hopes were, right?
Right.
Not depressed is what most, right? That's why we take antidepressants. Antidepressant, it just means I'm not depressed. It ain't happy. That's not a happy pill. It will not make you happy. Right?
When you say it's not a happy pill.
It's not, and a lot of people get confused because they say, I've been taking this antidepressant and I'm still not happy. The question is, are you depressed? Well, no, I'm not depressed, right? That's what an antidepressant does for you. It makes you not depressed. It doesn't make you happy. So if you're not depressed and you go to therapy, you can actually get happy.
That's right.
Right?
I'm gonna go a step. I'm gonna ask you this, right? So for those individuals that are suffering in silence, right? And they don't have anyone that see them, or they're in a certain situation, whatever those situations are, how can we help those individuals?
All right. So first, if you are not suffering and you do a self-check, clearly I am not suffering. I'm in a good space. Look around. Anybody who is in your circle, anybody you can see, touch, you interact with at any point in time. So it doesn't have to be on a daily basis. It can literally be the person who's checking out your groceries. Look at them in the eye and ask them how they doing. And maintain that eye contact. It's going to feel weird, especially if it's the girl checking out your groceries. She's going to be like, why are you staring at me? And you tell her, I'm just trying to see you. I want to know how you really doing. Right?
Right.
And but also be prepared for the weight of the response.
Ooh.
Right. So if you prepare yourself for the weight of the response, and prepare yourself for the weight of the response does not mean you need to become somebody's therapist.
Correct.
Don't try to take my job.
Right. Please don't.
All you have to do is know if it's an emergency, 988. That's nationwide. Don't call 911 because 911 is a medical police. 988 is a mental health emergency number that launched in July of last year. So
988.
988. It is the nationwide mental health emergency number. So if you are seeing somebody and they say, listen, Stanley, I am not sure, but I might kill myself. You keep them talking and say, well, tell me more about that. Don't say that. You're pushing them back in a hole. Don't say, why would you want to do something like that? You're pushing them back in a hole, right? Say, tell me more. That's all you have to say. And then you say, I think we need to get some help because that's not what I'm trained for. So I'm going to call 988 and we're going to do this together. I'm here with you. Let's call them. Let's see what, but 988 is the crisis number. So you can call 988 24/7, no matter where you are in the United States, you should be able to access 988. All right. So
that's good. That's
an easy preparing, right? That's an easy.
Right.
Now let's say it's not an emergency. So I don't need to go ahead and, ring the alarm. But they need some mental health help. We all have phones. You can say, hey, Siri, I'm going to say it quiet because she might peep up. What do you need? See, she's peeping up already. But if you say to your phone, give me all the therapists in my area, and you can actually Google the criteria. So if you say Black female therapist in New Orleans, that's what you're going to get. Right. Right. Google is very sensitive to those things. And most therapists put on their, they have those catchwords on their websites. You can go to, there's many, many, many databases of therapists, right? We have commercials of tons, and I don't endorse one. That's why I'm not giving any names, because when you're seeking help, there is even a bad intervention is better than no intervention.
Yes.
Right. Even if you call one of these ones that's online and you say, oh, they were horrible. Right. They taught you what you didn't want. They taught you more about what you're looking for in a therapist. And the fact that you're still here to tell me how horrible they were. Now you can come back to me and say, okay, well, let's find somebody who's not horrible. Well, what made them? And you generally, I hope, therapists aren't horrible, but sometimes they're just not a good fit for you. So sometimes somebody said they were horrible. They kept wanting to give me homework. Well, I'm a homework therapist. I give you homework because if you're not doing something between our sessions to work on yourself, but not every therapist gives homework. So if you say like, I don't like it, right? Then go to a therapist. I'll help you find a therapist who doesn't give homework.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell me what you're looking for. Just getting to the right place. Getting to the wrong place still helps you get closer to the right place. Then I'm like, come back to me after you have your session, right? Come talk to me. Let me know how it's going. I'm gonna check on you. And then really check on them. You ever told somebody I'm gonna check on you? And then really checked on them?
Yeah, it's a shock to most people.
It's a shock to most, yes.
Yeah, one of the things I do and when I'm speaking or whatever, one of the examples I always use is I would ask people and say, when you pick up the phone and you would hear people call you, right? Most people will call and be like, hey, how are you? You doing good? All right, great. And then go immediately into their whatever.
Right.
But they don't really check on you. And one of the things that I always try to do personally is before we get into anything, how are you doing? We can be whatever it is, but how are you doing? Let's talk about you first. How are you actually doing? Let's whatever that is. So we can have that checkup or that check-in. Then we can get into whatever business that we have. But if we don't do that first, why are we even, what are we doing?
But most people are completely shocked when you call them a month later, 6 months, and you don't even have to call. See, that's the beauty of technology is we can text. Depending on your phone and phone carrier, you can schedule text messages, right? So you can say, I wanted to text you, but it was 11 o'clock at night and that was too late. And I keep forgetting. But guess what? You can schedule a text for the next day. We can all schedule emails. People, and old-fashioned letters still work.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I don't have time to call you and I can't text you, I can't send you a letter, a card, or there are so many ways we can communicate with each other that cannot be an excuse for why we aren't checking on each other.
That's right. That's right. And we definitely can't do that. But because of what we're doing, we absolutely can check on each other. So I truly appreciate that. So tell everybody how we can get in touch with you. What's going on? How we can connect with you, all of those good things.
So my podcast is Therapy Get You Some. Therapy ... Get You Some.
Wait, therapy Get You Some.
Therapy Get You Some on all the major podcasts, all the major platforms. So you can go to any of them. You can also Instagram at Therapy GYS, the @ THERAPYGYS. Or you can email me at therapygys@gmail.com. therapygys@gmail.com. So that's how you get in touch with me.
So what's your specialties?
So I actually am what would be considered a generalist. And so a generalist treats everybody. And actually I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to be doing a podcast on what a generalist really is. Because a lot of people will say that they're a generalist and they're not necessarily what a generalist is. So a generalist is actually, so let me give you the difference when I say they're not really a generalist. A person who accepts everybody with no specialized training could be considered more competent than a generalist.
Okay.
Right? Because they don't have any training on anything. They're just saying, I'll see anybody who comes to my door. I'm a generalist, meaning I have been trained in multiple modalities of treatment for multiple age ranges and groups. And I'm certified in so I'm certified in trauma-focused CBT and multiple parenting techniques and things like that. I'm in substance abuse certifications. So I'm a generalist, meaning I have multiple trainings for multiple different things that pretty much capture everything. so that if I'm not certified, I am trained in and I won't say everything because there's certain areas that I'm not trained in. And if you contact me, I'll say that's not my area. But I'm not an expert in any one,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Not an expert in any one, but you've been trained in multiple
Trained in
of
multiple,
disciplines.
and I'm competent in multiple. So not just trained and competent, but an expert
Oh,
is that
competent.
advanced. An expert would have that advanced training. And generally,
Mhm.
somebody who says, like, I have a really close colleague who's an expert in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy.
What is that?
It's a type of therapy that's useful for people who have borderline personality and bipolar, but it's useful in a lot of different areas.
Hell, don't we all bipolar?
And so that's one of those therapies that I'm trained in and I use often in my practice, but I'm not an expert, meaning
Right.
my colleague, that is all their training is in dialectical behavior. You know, jokingly, I could say they can write a book on it. That's how much training they have in it. And so they've been doing that one type of therapy for 20 years.
Okay.
That's all they do. They actually run a DBT clinic. That's all they do every day, all day. That's all they do. And so if you came to me and, you know, I could see that you would benefit strictly from DBT in the purest form of it, then I would probably refer you to them.
Okay.
Right. But if you could benefit from DBT techniques, uh, that I'm qualified to do that, I can do that. But if you needed the pure form of it, then no, I would probably say, you know, Stanley, based on what you're telling me about what your situation is, I think going to a DBT therapist would benefit you.
Okay. That makes sense. Let me ask you this. I have to ask this before we go. And I think this is one of those ones where I want to share and ask the question out loud.
Okay.
I think a lot of Black families suffer in silence for whatever the reasons are, right? Whatever those reasons are. How can collectively, is there a way that you think we can actually break that? Because, you know, we don't believe in counseling. We don't believe in, as you say, don't put your business out in the street and all. I could give
I
you the whole rundown.
definitely think that's
Mhm.
changing, and I'm so hopeful. So as a Black therapist who promotes therapy, you know, that's what the whole point of the podcast is, to normalize therapy. But my practice is mostly Black people. So I think that is shifting and changing. And so I don't believe that is true. And I think we need to change that narrative that Black people don't go to therapy. They very much so go to therapy. Black families go to therapy. I've done family therapy for Black families. So Black families go to therapy. There are times when the entire family, like you said, the entire family is suffering and they could benefit from family therapy. But oftentimes it's an identified client who is, the identified, sick person who gets therapy. And that sometimes is a way into healing. Oftentimes, even from the work that I do with couples, generally it is the person who identifies as female within that couple who seeks my services first. Not being stereotypical, I'm just giving my experience. Generally, that person identifies, comes for services. And then through the work that we're doing, they constantly say, I think I need to bring my husband with me. And they'll bring their husband as, he'll come in saying, I'm coming for her because she's depressed. And then we'll start doing this couples work that they needed all along. Right.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it's and so oftentimes it'll, and those things, for my therapists who are listening, you say, oh, wait, how do you do that? Clearly, then we terminate the individual work and then we start working on couples and all that stuff. But a lot of times it's like the one person who is recognizing that what I'm experiencing could benefit from therapy. That's the person that goes first. And then they may be able to, that by them going, that gives everybody else permission to come on in. Right. But Black families do go to therapy. A lot of times, though, it is each member in the family has individual needs. And so
Yes.
even though it's the whole family that's suffering, they're suffering because this person has their trauma that they need to deal with. And this person has their, experiencing of mental health issues that they need to deal with. And as a family, we really don't have an issue collectively. We just have, each individual member in the family needs to make a commitment to getting healthy. And so there are times when we don't need family therapy.
Y'all should see my face on YouTube. Yeah, we need family therapy. Yeah, but never mind. I'm not
No,
gonna do
I know
that
what you're
again.
saying, but there are times when, as individuals, if we all go individually and get healed, that we can come together with our skills that we've learned in individual therapy to do what we need to do as a family.
See, let me push back a little bit because you know I love you, but let me push back a little
You can
bit.
push back.
Let me push back a little bit, right? Let me push back a little bit just on this, and then we're gonna get out of here. But let me just push back just a little bit, just a little bit.
Mhm.
I understand that face and that lane of what you're saying,
Mhm.
right? But let me give you the other side. You know, my as I like to say, my former life in law enforcement. People were not trying to come to therapy at all. And not only that, they fought against coming to therapy because of the stereotype, right? I understand that there are also the dynamics are starting to shift, and you know, more and more people are starting to become open to getting help, whatever that may be. But then there's
Right.
also that crowd that's like, man, I'm not going to see Dr. Saraparu. There ain't no way in the world. You didn't lost your mind because of whatever the reasons are. So how now do we take that? Because it's good to say we're starting to turn, but how do we get those individuals that really need therapy to start coming and following through to help get to a certain point?
So you can't force, well, I'm gonna say you can't, but you know, the court system sometimes will force therapy on people, but
Right, right.
unless you have that type of power, you can't force therapy on people. But one person in a relationship can shift the whole dynamic. So if I go to therapy by myself and I learn how to communicate and how to actively listen and how to express myself clearly and how to set boundaries, that's going to shift how we relate to each other.
Mhm.
Now, you may or may not choose to go to therapy. You know, you get to have your own, but that's going to shift how we relate to each other. And how many times do you see people share what they have had in therapy? So I know all my clients, they share all the time what they're
Mhm.
talking about because they're so excited. So they'll say, I was telling my significant other about, you know, using I statements and stuff like that. And now he's
Oh
using it,
Lord. Oh,
right?
here we go.
And so
The eyes thing.
that's therapy 101, but you know, we still have
Right.
to do those basics. But so what happens though is, no, he's not gotten therapy. He's never come to see me. But he's now using I statements. That's a shift. Now, fast forward maybe 10 years from now, he may choose to come.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like those you got to plant the seeds, you got to water them, but then don't let that stop you from getting your healing. So you might be the only one in the family healed. Don't let heal anyway. Just keep healing. And you're gonna give people permission to heal because they're gonna love the way it looks. When you come to Christmas and you didn't drop 50 pounds, you didn't do nothing else, but you just healed that, you're gonna look like you dropped 50 pounds because the weight of trauma
Right.
will actually, you know what I'm saying? When you come in there and you like, look, I ain't playing with you, Uncle Joe, no more, because we don't do that. Nope, no, you can't hug me or my kids.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right?
Right.
Everybody else who didn't want that hug from Uncle Joe, they're gonna be looking at you like, well, how does she not have to do the hugging? Because I don't play that with him. He know better.
Right.
He don't do that, right? And then you'll see along the way. Now they're gonna be coming to you in the kitchen while you making your macaroni. Now who you go see? How you do that?
Right.
You know, and I think that's where we're going to because as we start to see people healed, it's so freeing. And I think we all want to feel that kind of freedom. We all want to feel that kind of, you know, that kind of happiness.
One
That
day
is,
we're gonna talk about joy.
that's a whole nother, yes.
Yeah. One day we're gonna talk about joy.
Yeah, that's
That
a
that
whole
that,
nother topic right there.
that
But I
deep
think that
joy.
we can't force it on somebody, but we can just keep planting seeds and watering it. And you know, I always will say, you know, sounds like you need a therapist. And you know,
So one thing I want to share with the audience, Dr. Saraparu have shared her information, and I want to talk. Let me let me sit up and look in the camera now. I want to talk specifically to those individuals that suffering in silence, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're by yourself, whether you're fighting someone else, whether you're in school, whether you're an athlete, regardless of you're in social media. If you're suffering in any kind of silence, make sure you either reach out to Dr. Saraparu, or as she said, the nationwide mental health number is 988. That's 988. Please reach out. Your life means everything to us. Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette decided to do this show because we saw a lot of people that have been suffering. I shared this with some of my friends. I went into the mall to pick up something for myself recently during the holiday season, and I could literally see the weight of people in stress, people suffering in silence, people under that level of badness, I'll say. And something had to be done. And in my little way, with my sister, Dr. Saraparu, we decided to do this show to help you, help your family, help your loved ones, help those that are surrounding you, right? So regardless of what it is, if you're suffering in silence, or you know someone that's suffering in silence, or you know someone that's suicidal, or whatever those negative energies are, please reach out to Dr. Saraparu. Please call a national, mental health number at 988. Please get some help. We're not looking at you negatively. We're here to help you continuously be the best of who you are. It may be heavy right now, but it's not over. Please, 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 those individuals that are listening, wherever you are, just please call the number, text Dr. Saraparu or whatever it is. But please, if you got to get in touch with the show, I'll get you in touch with Dr. Saraparu, 988, whatever it may be. But it's that important to us. You mean all of that to us. And that's why we selected this show, to make sure that you have everything you need to continue to be healthy and successful. All right. So again, the national number is 988 for mental health, 988 for mental health. Dr. Saraparu, now that we did the public service announcement brought to you by Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. Come on now, let me hear you one. Come on now. I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it.
Listen, last time I told you I don't want, like,
I don't want to hear it.
I'm New Orleans. I've been New Orleans my whole life, but I just ain't a wine. I just ain't a wine. That just ain't what I do. So that's what you're gonna get. It's just a.
Come on, Dr. Saraparu. Just a little something. Come on. I'm waiting. Come on.
The listeners don't want to hear me whine.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They have spoken, and they say no.
I'm looking at the chat right now. They want to hear you whine.
They said, nah, they didn't like it the first time. They definitely ain't gonna like it the second time.
They didn't hear you the first time. This is a whole different group.
They need to go back and hear the first time.
No.
So listen, I was on here before.
Come on, Dr. Saraparu. Come on now.
Come on, we got to whine. And I'm like, I don't even do that for real. Like that's a New Orleans thing, but I don't even do that for real. Like I don't walk up.
I know. And be like, but that's what makes it so much fun. So come on.
It's so fun that it's like.
Yeah, you ain't even got to go deep. You listen. You got 900 degrees. We know you sophisticated. We know you need chicken with a fork.
If I saw you on the street, I'd be like, "What's up, Stanley?" But I wouldn't be like, "Why?" I don't do that.
You just did it. See, you just did it.
I did. See, you gonna force it, but that ain't just what I do. Only for my brother, but okay. Only for my brother. You gonna just force it. There you go. You knew I had to be difficult. You knew it, and like you said, nobody don't call up here saying why she was doing all that. That's me.
Listen, they not gonna call. They just happy and smiling. She's like, she did it. And it was so natural. See how it just came out? It just so natural. Listen, everybody, I sure appreciate y'all logging in today. We really pray that this particular podcast helped out everybody, especially dealing with mental health, suffering in silence, or any of those things. Again, if you have any type of suffering mentally, please just pick up the phone and dial 988 and allow the professionals to help you move past this difficult part. We don't want any other difficulties to come through or any other badness. So please do that, and we'll continue to make it happen. Next week is going to be another powerful podcast. Go to all of the podcast stations. We are there. Go to all of the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Just like us. YouTube. Go to YouTube and like us. We got to get our folks up on YouTube. Some of the faces we make is y'all just got to see that. Y'all just got to see it. But please, family, Go all of those links. And Dr. Sarabrue, before we get out of here, can you give your information one more time? And then we're going to get out of here.
It's therapygys@gmail.com, Instagram @therapygys, and the podcast is therapy ... Get you some. ...
Get you some.
Gotta
One
put it
day
that
I'm
way, because you know when you're searching a podcast, it's so specific.
One day I'm gonna ask you what ... means, but I'm gonna leave that there.
Ellipsis. It's just an ellipsis.
I'm gonna leave that there right now. You can be all professional. But anyway, let's get on out of here. Family, we appreciate you guys. See y'all next week on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, and then we will see you guys on the Beaches of the World. Dr. Sarabrue, thank you again. Love you, and we'll talk soon. Everybody, y'all have a great day, evening, night, or wherever you are. Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette is now logging off. Enjoy my outro music. Peace. We out.